Tony Stewart, we are celebrating our 100th Kenny Conversation right now. And you, my friend, you helped us get going. You were the very first Kenny Conversation right at 2 years ago. So I just want to let you know, Charlie's going to put a big 100, and thank you for doing this.
No, glad to. Man, I thought after show 2, they'd have canceled you a long time ago. So just the 100's a milestone, bud. This is big. This is huge.
I'm a little much, Tony. You know, I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, Herman, would you shut up? My God.
Well, you can't help it. You have too many voices of yourself in your head. That's the problem. You're constantly having a Kenny conversation 24/7 just with yourself.
You know, this reminds me of my good friend Don Schoenfeld, the Schoenfeld family. They build headers, and I heard that Don would have a little tape recorder next to his bed, and anytime he thought of something, he'd talk into the tape recorder, and that's where my brain is. I'm constantly thinking, you know. But all right, man, you know, I feel lucky because I called you a week ago and I said, can we just talk? And so my timing's right. You win your first ever NHRA Wally in the big division, top fuel. Now, we know you won the one in alcohol. What does it feel like 2 days later to win on the biggest form in NHRA?
You know, the thing that everybody's going to expect out of this answer is what it felt like to me to win that. And it was a big deal for me, but honestly, and something you're going to appreciate and understand is it brought me back to 2009 all over again. It brought me back to the first race that Stewart-Haas Racing won together at the All-Star race at Charlotte, to stand there in victory lane and sit there and look, you know, and you remember back in that day, they used to bring this semi-trailer, this flatbed trailer out and put the stuff on top of it. And the crew guys would sit on the edge of it and hang their legs over it and all that. And I remember being at Charlotte in 2009 and having a bunch of the crew guys crying sitting on the edge of that trailer. And I'm like, what is wrong with everybody? And one of the guys told me, they said, those guys have never won a cup race. They've been with Haas this whole time and never even came close to winning a cup race. And it just was the culmination of all of it. And Sunday, when I crossed that line, and you look for a single light bulb that's about this big that sits on the edge of the wall. And it's a little more confusing at the four wide, because at the end of the track, there is no divider between the 4 lanes. It's just open. But during the run, there's a divider between lanes 2 and 3. So visually, it looks like a 2 wide deal, but you know you're running a 4 wide race. But you get down there, and so for the left 2 lanes, they're looking for that same bulb, and the right 2 lanes are looking for the bulb on the right side wall. And if you win in lane 1, it flashes. So, and we're going by it so fast, you don't get a chance to see it flash because you just see it and that's it. So I saw the light come on, but I didn't know whose lane it was. I didn't know if it was myself or Justin Ashley, who was in lane 2. But Leah taught me a little pro hack and a tip. She goes, if you don't know whether you won or not, there's always a camera at the top end on a scaffold at the top end of the racetrack. And she goes, the closer you get to that, if it's following you, you won. If it's following the other guy, they won. So we're slowing down, you know, the parachutes and the shutdown area is uphill at Vegas. And I'm going uphill and I'm getting slower and I'm slower and I'm getting closer to it. And I said, I think the camera's on me. So I'm like, I think we won this thing. So when you come around the corner to where they stop you and get you out and safety safari unhooks your head and neck deal and all that, they always leave the winner to the inside, and that there was a big gaping hole there and they're pointing me over to it. So I knew at that point we won. But man, it was such a cool feeling just to finally get the monkey off our back and not have to answer questions. Are we, or when are we going to win a race and this and that? But it didn't take much time. I mean, I did the Fox interview and for FS1, and at the end of it, the 3 crew guys that drive to the top end to get the car and you know, start the teardown process, they got up there and one of them about tackled me on the ground.
I was going to say he attacked you.
He had mass and he had inertia too. He had a lot of inertia going there. So, but when that happened, honestly, it took me back to 2009 to that All-Star race, and some of those guys have won races before, but what I didn't realize is just how much pressure the entire team was holding on their shoulders of trying to get me our first win. I mean, they've won with Leah, with this team and everything, but they hadn't won with me yet. And I just truly did not realize. I know for the crew chiefs, it's that way because the crew chiefs are the bulk of the equation in drag racing. But I didn't realize how much weight the crew guys were carrying. And in that moment, I finally realized it. So as much as I want to tell you about how cool it is for me, I don't even know if it's totally sunk in for me yet. It meant a lot for those crew guys, but I can tell you where it sunk in with me was just realizing I know winning one drag race in Top Fuel doesn't rotate the earth and doesn't set the world on fire and create some historic moment in drag racing, but it does in motorsports as a whole to do what we've done. And I don't normally talk about what I've done because I just don't do it. You know, I'm just not built that way. But this is kind of one of those moments where you sit there and you look at this and go, we did something that was history making this weekend. And I'm very, very proud of that to win an IndyCar championship, 3 NASCAR championships, the USAC Triple Crown, and now to win a Top Fuel race. There isn't, over the course and the history of motorsports, it has never been done. So to be the first person to do that is just, and keep adding to it. I mean, nobody's ever won an IndyCar championship and a NASCAR championship. So to be able to finally do that and be the first person to do it all, it really adds to the value of what that win felt like.
Man, and you're teeing me up. First of all, I'm proud of something. Look at this right here. I don't know if you recognize that. Hold on 1 second.
I don't have my glasses on. That's the bad part is I got to sit there with my glasses so I can see it.
Hold on. You know, when I do these shows, I want things to look good. Tony Stewart, you know, look at that.
That's
okay.
Awesome.
So my wife loves you to death. I think Eddie Jarvis got that for her. But, you know, there's NASCAR. But I find that great athletes like yourself, when you win, and you just mentioned it, you're so happy for everybody around you because you win, you look at them and they're so jacked up. What was it like? Was your dad there? And I got that later. But to me, I want to go back to Pomona because Pomona ended up really like prime time. I don't know why, but it was like 7:30 St. Louis time, and there you are up against Clay Millican, and you smoked the tires. And the Tony Stewart I know, it appeared like that's the Tony I know. You were pissed, and they showed that moment where you were like this. And in my world, that you run second at Pomona.
Yeah.
And now here you are and you win. Man, your time was coming. What started clicking with the team? Clutches. I don't even know what I'm saying, Tony. What made this car faster here lately?
So I'll take us back to the week of the Super Bowl. We had the Pro Superstar Shootout at Bradenton, Florida. So it's 2.5 days of testing, and then the race is 2.5 day event. So 5 days we were down there. We made 14 runs with the car, and it literally only made it down the track 3 times successfully. So 11 of 14 runs were aborted runs because it shook, it smoked the tires, something happened. And the guys went back with both trailers because different than a NASCAR team or our sprint car team, we have 2 full semi trailers that have everything that we have to take to operate for the weekend. So they take all that back to Brownsburg, Indiana, totally yard sailed our program, our clutch program. So you're on it. You're smarter than you think you are on that one. That is where the magic happens, I feel like. I mean, that's where the majority of races are won or lost with the clutch program. So took it back, totally yard sailed it. We go to the very first NHRA race at Gator Nationals in March. We had 2 days of testing there, and then we had Saturday got rained out. So 2 rounds of qualifying. We lost on Saturday there, but total for the weekend, made 10 runs. The car went down the racetrack, 8 of 10 runs. It shook tires twice, but that happens in drag racing because you're pushing these things to the limit. So when it loses traction, it just loses traction. If it's a qualifying run, you just abort it. So moral to the story, though, is that our car was way better when we came back to Gainesville with the package they brought. Took that same package to the next race at Phoenix. It went down all but one run.
Mm.
And so feel like we're gaining on it and feel like we're on a path that's a good path. Go to Pomona, make it to the finals. And we weren't the fastest car, and we're still not the fastest car. We made it to the finals because our car went down the racetrack from A to B. So gaining this momentum and gaining a foundation that we could work off of, and then going to Vegas, we're going to have to start trying to now take this foundation we've got built and try to start pressing to make the car a little quicker, better ET, more mile an hour at the top end. We get to Vegas and it threw everybody in the field a curveball. The track conditions were not normal. It was very greasy feeling. And a lot of that's to do with the spray that they have to use. So they use a spray, and it literally, when they spray that and then they drag the tires across it, you walk out there, it is like walking on flypaper. It is that sticky. But there's multiple companies that make this glue. And kind of what we're finding out is that an event that they had in the fall at Las Vegas, it was a different company's glue that they used, and it just had different reactions to what it was doing to the racetrack. So it made the track extremely challenging to get down. I mean, you're used to seeing cars in Top Fuel running the mid 330s on a great run. A great run is if you got to 320 on a good run the other day, that was strong. So, we're having to back the cars way off to get them to go down the racetrack. Well, it's you would think to make the car go faster, it's harder to find the edge and to find that speed. For Top Fuel cars to back them off and have to back the power and to back the clutch settings off, it's way harder to back them off as far as we were having to back them off to go down the racetrack. So where we would sit there and say a hot, slick racetrack that's hard to get a hold of and dry, slick track that's hard to get, that's the hardest conditions. It's the opposite for us, but the same. When it's hot and slick, it's really challenging to get 11,000 horsepower to hook up on a track like that.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at round one. You ran 3.864 at 321 mile an hour. So all that is interesting. And thank you for telling us that, because, I always, in NASCAR, it's like, man, you guys have been struggling. All of a sudden you won 3 in a row, and it's always got to do with the engineer. And let's keep it right here to this big win. You outrun the great Antron Brown. I mean, he's incredible. Justin Ashley and Jasmine Salinas. Did I say her right? Okay, good. So 4 wide. Is there only 2 tracks that are 4 wide? Is it Charlotte and Vegas?
Correct.
When you all unload, when you guys know you're going to a 4 wide in NHRA, do you all think it's a gimmick? Do you make fun of it, or do you go, hey, this is awesome?
I think it's a great question, because I think to the purist and the people that have been around drag racing for a long time, at first the 4 wide was a gimmick.
Yeah.
Our race has turned into. And
Bruton Smith.
But it is, and that's where Bruton has always been a visionary and thought outside the box. And Marcus does the same thing. I mean, look what Marcus did bringing the Roval to NASCAR. I mean, just thought of something different. That time of year in the fall, it's hard. And now we're going to go to Charlotte both times this year as a 4 wide race. The 4 wide in the fall hadn't had the same attendance that the spring race had. And a lot of that's college football starts, and, NFL's getting ready to start. So, Saturdays and Sundays, people are watching football again. And NASCAR fights the same thing. NASCAR sits there and fights. How do they combat that? So, they came to NHRA with the idea to make the 4 wide at Charlotte a fall race as well. So, but to have these 2 races, I think a lot of the drivers, I know for a fact, a lot of the drivers aren't huge fans of it, but I think it's because there's the sport of drag racing. You and I get in a cup car and we're still talking about with our buddies what we're going to have for dinner on the way home and this and that. But then we put our helmet on and we lock in and we do what we do. There is so much mental preparation that goes into staging the car and the procedure of firing up, doing the burnout, coming back, the cadence of that procedure, and being mindful of every 10 seconds the thing's burning a gallon of fuel. That's 10 pounds. Nitromethane is the heaviest fuel on the planet. And you burn a gallon of fuel, that's 10 pounds. Well, that's right at the front tires is where the fuel is. So you're changing the weight balance of the car every 10 seconds of every gallon of fuel that you're burning. So being mindful of time and the procedure and the cadence of the procedure is so big. Well, now you throw in, instead of just one guy that's in the other lane that you're pre-staging with and then staging with, and that routine, to now 4 drivers are doing this at the same time, and you got 4 pre-stage bulbs and 4 stage bulbs that come on, and the driver 2 and 3 sometimes get confused on which bulb they're looking at. It creates a level of chaos that they don't like.
Yeah.
They don't like being outside the normal. So for me, when I started, I started 3 years ago, the second to last race of the season, Las Vegas, and it was just the 2-wide race. I lose to Madison Payne by 1.5 inches, which I tell my wife 1.5 inches is that big, just for
I love it. You're my man.
But, you do that, and then literally we start the season with the alcohol team 2 years ago, and we go to Gainesville, we go to Pomona, then we go to Vegas, and we win the 4-wide there, and we win it by 2 inches. That's 2 inches to my wife.
Yeah, right.
So, and then we go to Charlotte, and I run her up to my teammate by literally 1.5 inches again. But I loved it. I fell in love with the 4-wides because of what your and my backgrounds are now. I feel like it's like going to a short track on Saturday night, and you run 2 heat races, and you got to finish in the top 2 in the first heat to go to the next heat. You got to finish in the top 2 in the second heat to go to the finals, and then the money's on the line in the finals. So I embrace it for that. The fact that it's chaotic to the other drivers a little bit and makes them a little uncomfortable, I feel like takes them from here to here. And because I embrace it and like it, brings me up to here and puts us on a level playing field. So I like the 4-wides. You always like something you win at, and having my first win at a 4-wide was pretty cool. And I even forgot that it was our first win, but literally 2 years later, here we are talking about winning our first top fuel race at a 4-wide at Vegas.
We're still going down the track right now at Vegas in this interview, and we're going to get to victory lane in a minute. But I want to go back to our first conversation 2 years ago. You said that you wanted to try drag racing because Leah was talking all these, idiosyncrasies, and you couldn't really understand it. And you said, I want to go to school so I can relate. Now, you just talked about something that reminded me of Leah. You said that you got to be rhythmatic because you're burning so much fuel. And when I watch Leah, it's like she does the exact same thing every time. She would high five her team or whatever. I mean, does Leah, you just talked about looking up at the cameraman. How many idiosyncrasies has she taught you so far?
Everything.
Wow.
Everything that I know about drag racing, I know from her. And there's times that I go over to Matt Hagan, who drives our funny car team for TSR also. Yeah. Sometimes Leah and I'll talk about something and I don't necessarily get it. And it might be just language wise. It may be the way she says it. And sometimes if I don't totally understand it, then I'll go over to Matt and say, hey, need a little help. I'm not totally grasping this yet. And Matt has a way. Matt can talk to me like he's watching an episode of Sesame Street.
Okay, Tony.
He knows I'm not very smart, so he can say it in a way that sometimes when Leah can't get me to understand it, I can go talk to Matt. And sometimes even Matt has a different angle on it that Leah hasn't thought of before. So having 2 teammates, it's like going back to high school when you and I, we like to screw around. We don't want to read a 250-page book. So what did we do? Go down to the bookstore, buy the 30-page Cliff Notes version that told you everything you needed for your test so you can act like that you read the whole thing. And I think it makes it great because I can use that and use Leah and Matt as the example. And there's so many things that are involved, but there's things that are key elements to that, to doing it right. And when I started driving, even the alcohol car, I said, I don't want to do this to just do it. I said, if I do this, I want to do it right. And then that transition from the alcohol to the top fuel car, I said, I had to sit her down again and go, listen, I know what you said I did in the alcohol car was really good, but when we're doing this at this level with top fuel, not the top alcohol is not easy. It's definitely not easy, but I don't want to do it 98% of the way right. If I'm leaving 2% on the table somewhere, I want you to tell me where it's at so I can try to get that 2%. I don't want to leave anything because you can't with these guys. They're so good. So she's an excellent teacher. she's been there from day one. And honestly, I mean, people don't realize driving the car when the light changes, driving the car to the finish line was probably one of the easier parts of this transition for me. It's all the mindsets, the thought process going into it. I don't know what you were like before you'd get ready for a cup race. I'd go back to the motorhome after the driver's meeting. I would start a movie that I knew I wasn't going to finish. I would not have the pre-race shows on because the more I watched it, the more amped up I got and more energy I got. And I didn't want to be that excited that quick. So I would do everything I could to just stay calm when I got in the car, knowing that we're going to be in there for 3.5 hours. Where drag racing, now I'm finding out I have to do something different. I would ride with her in the tow vehicle and she's playing crazy rap music loud, and I'm getting anxiety going, my God, I'm not even driving the car and it's about to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
But now I understand why she did it. She's trying to get her energy up. She's trying to get wide awake, alert, be on kill, because you only have 3.5 seconds that this thing's going to go down the racetrack. And the most important thing you got to do is when that light changes, hit the gas. Mm-hmm. So now I'm having to go from leaning back and, being happy
before the race,
now trying to figure out how do I get like this. But I'm finding now too, and literally Pomona and Vegas, even after a full year of running this top fuel car, I'm kind of finding that balance because I tried the music thing. I tried playing it. I would play it real loud in the lounge when I'd change and stuff and get all excited, and then I'd get in the car and I'd relax again. So just trying to find that happy middle, and literally the last two events at Pomona and in Vegas this past weekend, I'm very calm in the trailer, but I'm very alert. I'm wide awake. I'm amped up, but in a calm way. And I'm kind of finding that groove that's working for me now. So, the crew guys are seeing that, and the cars going down the racetrack. The guys, the crew chief and co-crew chief are doing a great job on making calls. And, now we've made it to 2 final rounds in a row and got a win. So, we're definitely gaining on it. We have a lot of work to do. We don't have the fastest car out there. It can't run in the mid 360s to low 360s on a lapse time, and it's not going to run in the upper 330s on mile an hour at the end of the run, but it's consistent. And that does put pressure on these other teams, knowing that car goes down the racetrack. It's not, it's a coin toss, whether it's going to go 365 at 338 miles an hour, or if it's going to spin the tires in 6 inches. So, but we definitely need to still work on making the performance of the car a little quicker. Now that it's consistent, we can start trying to make it faster and get a fast. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you want that ET. I don't care what the mile an hour says. If it says we ran 120 mile an hour at the line, I don't care as long as it makes a fast ET. So that's what we're working on, is just trying to make the car quicker and trying to find the areas of the track that we can make that happen.
I find this very interesting because there was a time in the NASCAR Cup Series you and I went through where the doctor's coming around and they're putting this pulse on you before the start. Remember those days? And they're wanting to make, what is this guy's pulse? Is he jacked up on Sundrop or is he calm? And I'm like you. I always caught myself, okay, start of the Daytona 500, start of Bristol. And I was always trying to calm myself down. But I want to give you a compliment. I'm not around you a lot, but the times I am around you, one thing that you've taught me, although I know you have a God-given talent and you're just flat ass good, you study everything to the maximum peak. I mean, I don't care if you're at the Rumble, a little, or a go-kart race. You're a good student, and it's like you want to learn everything. I think with your God-given talent, and then you study everything, I find that, and other people might study everything too, and I'm hearing this more and more, the Formula One is kind of creeping into NASCAR. These guys are going, I'm looking at tape, and but I think you've always been there, and I think that's why you have an edge. 2 things: talent, and you study. I just wanted to say that, and thank you for giving us an inside look at how Leah goes about it and how Tony goes about it. That's because when I see Leah, she's knocking the hell out of everybody and high-fiving and getting ready to go into the car. Okay.
And we do that too. I mean, when we're in the staging lanes and we get suited up, I mean, it's kind of a weird sequence because we normally have our uniforms up and we would crawl in the car, put our helmet and stuff on in the car. We can't do that in a dragster or funny car. So even when we get ready now, I've got my uniform around my waist and I'm putting my, earbuds in, my head sock on, my helmet on, hooking up the radio wire, guys taping it because we've had it come out before. So he tapes that so it doesn't pull out. Then he gets the head sock laid on my shoulder, and then he takes my uniform and puts it on over top of all that to enclose it because, we don't worry about fires in NASCAR very often, but NHRA with nitromethane motors that are making over 11,000 horsepower, fire is a big deal. And even though you're in that capsule, that fire can still get in there. There's plenty of openings for that fire to get in. So, but that whole sequence of how we get dressed and then going from there and fist bumping every guy on the crew, I walk around, I always make sure I grab the wheelie bar, make sure it's tight. Make sure I see the wires going through the loops of the parachutes to make sure I know where the wires are. I tap the wing. I mean, it's just a whole sequence of things we do. My dad is there when he's at the track. He is in that line with those guys as he's one of those guys, and he fist pumps me. And Leah, we go by each other. We literally go by like this, and we high five each other and then reach down and smack each other's butt on the way by. But we do it every time, and it's just part of the routine. So again, it's that consistency and that routine and keeping that mindset and doing the same thing every time. And so that's an important part of it. But yeah, there's guys, I mean, I watch Doug Coletta. He just goes and gets right in his car. He doesn't do all that. And I've seen Leah, I mean, she goes by. I finally quit doing that too. I get off to the side when she do the fist bump deal. She punches your hand when she does it. She gets amped up like that. But you take 10 drivers, they do 10 different things, but it is fun to watch how everybody has their idiosyncrasies about how everything.
Okay. So, you've won this race. It ricochets throughout, not the United States, but the world. And we're going to get to these accolades. I'm going to see if they're accurate, but okay. You get in victory lane. You're exhausted. You're breathing. I mean, my God, you just got done going 320 miles an hour in 3.8 seconds. That's insane. And this victory lane becomes very emotional. And you said it right, Tony. We just had this in NASCAR too. And mind you, I'm a fan of all of it. I love all of racing. But we just had this John Edwards who was with Jeff Gordon for 30 years. He really, I mean, he died, but it really affected the whole NASCAR world. And you said in victory lane, you said Rusty Rush from Rush Truck Center, his wife Jenny passed away. And then if that's not enough, you say 15 minutes before you get ready to go, you get another phone call from Brian Lanegraf that his father passed away. So my question to you is you have all this grief. And now we're talking about this. I mean, you had to focus. But it finally unloaded in victory lane. And you just said I guess you were at a funeral yesterday. Tell me about all this tough times for you and just people losing their life.
Yeah, I mean, obviously knowing John, and I've been around John obviously as well. I mean, we all are. Mm-hmm. We all know each other, and John was one of those guys that had a huge personality, and it's not easy to have PR guys that can handle guys like myself and Jeff Gordon and a lot of the big guys. I mean, we put a lot of pressure on our PR guys at times. But John was just a cool guy that everybody loved. I don't think anybody disliked him. He had Al Pierce, who was a great rider in NASCAR, and I don't think he ever had an enemy. I mean, he was always good to us. I always liked doing interviews with him. Losing him, I unfortunately didn't know the Truck Series owner. I think I'd met him one time, but I didn't know him at all. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you and I both know just anytime anything happens in the motorsports community, whether you know the person or not, they're still part of our racing family, and you feel the weight of that. So, to have those three guys on the NASCAR side, and then I'm actually getting suited up, and we've got the radio on of the here in the broadcast from the booth and the tower, and I hear Dallas Glenn, who won the Pro Stock class, and he had someone that passed away and someone that got hurt really bad in a car accident. And I'm sitting there going, how much more can we all take? But I'll go back to when I got that message 15 minutes before we ran our final, before we went to the staging lanes, and Leah walked in, and I showed her the text message, and I'm just sitting there like, cannot believe this. And this shows you the strength of my wife that people don't realize. Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah, she's a great race car driver. People don't give her enough credit for who she is as a person too. Mm-hmm. And I call her the Kevin Harvick of drag racing because she can build a race team from scratch. She's done it before for one of her previous car owners. She can work on the cars. She can manage people. She understands the business side and how to take care of the partners. and she's a damn good race car driver and drop dead gorgeous on top of that. What more could you ask for?
Right. Yeah.
She got a little short on her husband here, but
hey, she got a little tomboy quality to her, man. She's right.
But she walked in when I showed her that message, and she handed me the phone back, and she looked at me and she goes, "Listen, you've been battling a battle." She goes, "Now you've got to go win this war now. You're at war right now. You've got to go win this war right now. You're not going to win a battle. You're going to win a war right now." And immediately in 10 seconds, she got my mind back on track where I needed to be. And I still had those other two in the back of my mind. And we had the Race Rudine Foundation. Kevin Rudine's a good friend of ours. He lost his son, Race, RAYCE, lost his son at the age of 25 to a fentanyl overdose. And so having him on that car was not just a typical problem. It wasn't like having Dodge or, Johnson's horsepower garage on there or Renai water heaters. It was different. This is a foundation that's bringing awareness to fentanyl overdose and addiction and what it means to help. Part of what this foundation does is help support the families. It's not just about the person directly involved. It's all the other people that are directly involved because of it. So having Kevin Rudine there, who's a good friend of mine, we both own sprint cars in the World of Outlaw series. All of this happening on a weekend where this is kind of a second home race for us. Vegas is 2 hours from Lake Havasu. So it's a West Coast home race for us. So we've got tons of people from Lake Havasu that are just fans, that some of them we know, most of them we didn't, that came to the race to support us. A lot of our friends from Lake Havasu came for the weekend. And then you've got all this other chaos going on. And Leah saying, "You've got to get ready to go to war right now." And it resonated with me. And so when I got in the staging lanes, I heard Dallas Glenn's thing, and I had to remind myself, I'm getting ready for my war. He just won his war. I got to go win my war now. And that's the power that my wife has. I mean, she is unbelievable. She can take any situation and find the right way to frame it to get done what needs to get done. And she's a great speaker. She's a 10 times better speaker in public than I am, sponsors and everything. She's just amazing. But I value her as a person more than anything, and as my partner as well. So she got us in the right frame of mind. And you want to go after a race on Sunday night. You want to go celebrate with your guys and tear it down. And I'm getting older. I mean, when I get tore up, it's a couple days recovery versus a couple.
I don't even drink anymore. It's just not right.
I'm not a quitter. I can't. So God doesn't like quitters, bud. So
that's right.
But it was kind of a weird deal Sunday night. I mean, I was so excited to be with the team and realize and talking to them one-on-one just how much weight it took off their shoulders, but having to somewhat be a responsible adult and know that I was going to see a friend of mine that was having a bad time. I mean, Rusty sent me a message after we won, and it was hell yeah. And I could see his excitement that he normally has. And then the second to last line was, "I had a really bad day today." And when you read that from one of your close friends like that, it doesn't take away from the victory, but it takes away from the celebration, but for the right reasons. It's, I knew all week what he was going through. And it was at that moment after we won the race and got to spend some time with the guys, it was important to get prepared to go to San Antonio after that late at night and get less than 2 hours of sleep and get dressed and see my good my good friend Clint Boyer, who's very close to Rusty as well. And we're both there for a not good reason. And, to be there and support him. But it was kind of fun last night. You mentioned it earlier about the list, and I was reading the list that a couple people had created. And I don't think about that stuff on a daily basis. It's just not who I am. I still feel like we're writing the chapters of the book, and we'll read the book when it's done.
We're going to get to it. I got it here. Let me just say this. Once again, another compliment. Years ago, like you say, you and Leah, you do the same thing. Okay. So I don't feel like a goofball either, but I saw something that said, your life will not change until you change your life. And I just want to say that you are a blessing to everybody that is a competitor, because you did a 180, friend. I mean, NASCAR is a big ass world, and you peeled out and you made this whole other world. You got married, you had a baby, you won in the biggest form. So thank you. And you're an inspiration to me because you changed your life. And I always say, man, when things ain't going right, change your life because, life goes pretty quick. So I just want to say congratulations.
I want to go with you on that for a second because I get asked a lot of times, there's people that have been around racing for a long time and, we're not on the upswing of our career. We're up over the hill and we're coming down the other side and still enjoying what we're doing and with the same intensity. But I get asked a little more frequent now, if I could go back, what would I change? And there's two big things. I mean, there was a race in New York that I wouldn't have went to because I wouldn't have I don't ever want to have to go through what I went through, what another family went through. Yep. And I still get blamed for it all the time, daily, by people that have no clue what the hell they're talking about. And I still get blamed for something that was not my fault. Yes. So I would not have went to that event. That's one of the two things that I would have changed in that. The other thing that I would have changed is definitely during my NASCAR career and the majority of it, I would have loved to go back and treated people better. I was so intense with racing. I was so on edge all the time. There were a lot of things I didn't like about NASCAR. There were a lot of things I didn't like how they did things. I didn't like how a lot of it was done. But while I was there, I mean, all I cared about was winning races and what we had to do. And I was not a good person to people. I just wasn't. I mean, we had a lot of fans and I was good to a lot of people, but there were a lot of people I wasn't good to also. And that is the single biggest thing that if I could go back in time, that is the one thing that I would definitely change.
Well, I love you. And I think that's awesome what you said. And I want to say something else. Now that we're just talking a little bit about this, we're still in Victory Lane, everybody, right now. We just got down to quarter and we're still in Victory Lane. One night late at Bristol, I saw Kyle Busch. And I said, Kyle, we got to talk, and it was towards the end. I said, since you and Samantha, Toyota would call her Sam. I said, since you and Sam are together now, you seem different. And he said, you know what was wrong with me, Herm? This is Kyle Busch. He said he'd win the race, and then 5 hours later, he was totally depressed because the high was over. And he said Samantha just helped him. Do you think Leah has made you understand things more? Is that what I'm not saying she did, or have you just come to peace with it yourself?
I think it's the same but different. I think what Leah's done for me is, I think I was very similar to Kyle in that aspect but no matter what the outcome was, I mean, you race on Sunday, you don't race again until the next Sunday.
Yeah.
Unless I was still in a sprint car racing on Friday and Saturday.
Like Kyle Larson.
Yeah. But if it didn't go good on Sunday, it wasn't good when I got home Sunday. It wasn't good at home on Monday. It wasn't good on Tuesday. It wasn't good on Wednesday, all the way till you got a chance to fix it that next weekend. And if it went good, the sad thing was you'd get home Sunday night, and not just that 5 hours that Kyle's talking about, but 24 hours later, by Monday night, you're done celebrating because you're already thinking about the next weekend and how do you do it again. Now you're not depressed about it and you're not down about it because you had a good weekend, but you're already refocused on how do you do this again. And that's the mentality of professional race car drivers. That's all we think about. So I think for Kyle and for someone like myself, and when it pertains to Leah and I don't think that she taught me anything different, but she just gave me a reason to think about something other than that race car. And coming home with her after the weekends, win, lose, or draw, we talk about it, but there's a point where you get done talking about it, and then Monday you start being a partner again and being a husband again, and now being a husband and a father. And I think it's a great balance, even when you win the races. I mean, this morning, Leah waking up and feeding Dom in bed, and then having Dom sitting there in between us for a little while we're waking up and getting ready to stay. I wasn't thinking about that win in Vegas. I was thinking about my son. And he looked over his shoulder like this, and he just smiled. And it's like time stops. And
he don't have a clue.
He doesn't know anything about a race car, and like to be in Victory Lane, but he was there. So, but yeah, I think that aspect of it that's where our, and your wife, Kim, I mean, she's that balance for you. I mean, we all need that balance. But yeah, we're not wired right.
Yeah.
We don't think right. And we get so obsessed with what we do. And it's no different. Successful business people are weird that way too. That's all they think about is that next business deal and how did they take what they have and make it better. So, it is a challenge. And I think having that significant other in your life changes that. I think for me, I got a bonus with it because my partner is a race car driver. She is so much like me 17 years ago. It's crazy. But if I'm upset, she understands why. And she knows that feeling of why you're upset. It's not, well, why are you so upset? It's okay. No, she knows, she gets it. So I think that's a huge thing for me. And I think to your point, that is what has helped me in this transition in my life is that I'm with somebody that truly understands me, truly gets it. There's other personality traits about us that make us who we are as a couple that I love. So, but definitely, I think it makes me better of wrapping my arms around what life is about.
Those last 10 minutes were a highlight. Okay, deep breath. This is something fun. And thank you so much, Tony. That was awesome right there. Okay, our first conversation, you said this, and I love it. I said, what's them G-forces like, Tony? And you said that the car took off and your brain was still at the start-finish line, so to speak. It's safe to say that now, are you with the car now, obviously? When do you feel like, do you remember a month, a year when I'm with the car now?
I think with the alcohol car, it took about 3 events to really start getting in tune with it. And it's a car that has 4,800 horsepower to close to 5,000 horsepower. Now I'm driving an 11,000, almost 12,000 horsepower top fuel car.
Insane.
And it's funny because my buddies in racing, they ask one of 2 questions. They want to know what the acceleration feels like, or their first question is they want to know what it feels like when the parachutes come out at the top end.
Yeah.
But the hard thing is I can tell them exactly what the second answer is. The first answer of what it feels like, how hard it accelerates, I really struggle with that because I am so focused on what the tires are doing and feeling the rear tires. Your eyes are watching where you're going and you're driving the car like you're supposed to, but your attention is so focused on hearing the motor, feeling the power of it, and mainly feeling what those rear tires feel like. Because if it chatters the tires, you got to be able, if it's in eliminations, you can slap it and get back in it. If it just spins the tires, you got to catch it quick because fuel does not compress. Air compresses, liquid doesn't. So if you spin the tires, it puts the cylinders out. So it's not firing the cylinders anymore and it's still pouring raw fuel in there. Well, it'll pour enough fuel in there that eventually that's when they go big boom. And that's $150,000 big boom when that happens. So it's really important to catch that. If it spins, you got to catch it fast so it doesn't do that. I have a hard time explaining the acceleration feeling. I can tell you that once we get to mid-track, you're kind of through the, so to speak, danger zone of what the tires are going to do. It still can spin the tires late, but you're up and going. But it's kind of like you hear the motor, and the only way I can describe it is the motor gets up, and when the clutch starts pulling on it, you'll hear the RPM start coming down a little bit. And then when the clutch gets 1-to-1 and on the graph, you see it match the drive shaft. Then it comes back up and follows the drive shaft. So it kind of sounds like, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but when you hear it pull the RPM down, it is, and gets 1-to-1 with the clutch, it's a gear change. When it's slipping the clutch, it's gear reduction. But when that clutch gets 1-to-1 and now you're 1-to-1 with the drive shaft and it starts accelerating, that's where it pulls the hardest.
So you're incredibly gifted with, that string from your brain to your ass to your foot, and you're so good at dirt racing. Do you want to win a pedal fest where both of you are smoking? It's what I'm hearing is that you want to win a pedal fest. You want both of you to smoke the tires and you beat them.
That's what I tell everybody. I tell them all the time. I wish every week, every round was a pedal fest because that's where literally I feel like 90% of the talent and skill that I've had my entire career and how I
Yes.
made my money in motorsports,
Yeah.
90% of it doesn't even apply in a drag car.
Yeah.
But that 10% that does apply is when it spins the tires and you got to catch it, and you got to roll back in the throttle to not shear it loose again. That's the anomalies that throw everybody off. And there's some guys that are really good at pedaling the cars. I feel like Pomona, perfect example. Round one, I go up against Billy Torrance. Beat Billy, had to pedal it. We both shook the tires. We were first pair. Both shake the tires. I pedaled it, got back in it, run to the end and win the race. Justin Ashley was in the pair right behind me in my lane, and because he's got the best view of it, he's sitting in his car right behind the next run, and he watches me go down. Well, he wins the next thing, and they're waiting to interview me at the top end for Fox, and Justin gets out of his car and he walks over with his helmet on still, and he goes, "You're going to have to teach me how to pedal a car that good."
I love it. He went to school.
The one moment where I had the best comeback that I didn't get to use, I said, well, go race a sprint car for 20 years and I promise you'll be able to do it. Yeah. What I should have said is, you teach me how to leave with 30s and 40s like you are on the light instead of my 60s and 70s, and I'll teach you how to pedal it, because he's the best lever in the class. He's got the best reaction time average of anybody. So, but when you hear your peers sit there and come there and go, man, I wish I could do that. That's the ultimate compliment.
Well, you have a gift. There's no doubt. Okay, everybody. It took us 50 minutes and we got past victory lane, and it's time for us to relax, Tony, and have a little bit of fun. Want to talk about some of the things that people are trying to say, in a good manner. Let me just start like this, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Tony Stewart is a 3-time NASCAR Cup champion as a driver and one as a car owner. And that was with that Kevin Harvick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're an IndyCar champion. You're a 4-time USAC champion. Are we missing any more championships?
You're off to a good start. Keep going.
No, I don't. You know what? I just did my best. You've done so much, and that's where I need you to. We're talking. We get some good views on Kenny Conversation, and listen, I got a whole nother list here. This is just championships.
So add SRX.
Oh my God! Okay,
SRX.
IROC. Yeah, that's a lot already.
Aside from that, just go-kart, a WKA championship in go-karts, and
it counts.
National. So I would say the point championship was the WKA one, though, but that covers the championships.
Okay, totally off cuff here. But I remember you telling me, you just mentioned WK kart championships. One thing I've learned about you is you don't make fun of any kind of racing. And I still go back to when you were injured bad and you went to Stefan Johansson's go-kart track in Indy, and you said that is where you got your strength back. So anybody that's listening, I know one thing about you, Tony, and I would never put words in your mouth, but you, my friend, taught me that all racing is serious. It's competition.
Whoever's putting everything they got into it. They're putting 100% effort into it. They're putting 100% of their resources into it. And when guys like you and I, when we're not doing that full time and we go run some other division like that, we're not the favorites. We're the underdogs, because they know the tracks, they know the cars they're driving, they know the characteristics, they know tire fall off, they know how the groove's going to change. We have to come in there as the ringers, so to speak,
and learn.
They think we're bigger, that we're always better. Well, it's not always that way.
They saw us on TV.
Yeah. They think that it's just automatic that we're supposed to beat those guys. And I keep trying to tell everybody, you don't realize how hard any class of racing is, from go-karts all the way to the top. So, but just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's better. It's hard all the way through.
Okay, so we're just going to reread that. Tony is a 3-time NASCAR Cup champion. One is a car owner with Kevin Harvick there, Stuart Haas, IndyCar championship, 4 USAC championships. I'm thinking, my God, that had to be gnarly in all that. SRX champion, IROC. All right, switching gears. Now this is the other one, and I know you've probably seen it, and I'm going to read it right off my phone. Don't know who this was, but I thought it was badass. Tony Stewart's win in NHRA Top Fuel today adds an additional achievement to the most diverse driver in history. Tony Stewart has won in NASCAR Cup, NASCAR Xfinity, NASCAR Truck, ARCA, IndyCar, Sprint Car, Midgets, Silver Crown, IROC, SRX, NHRA Top Fuel Dragster, NHRA Top Alcohol. But then somebody last night said he won in a modified or something. So what are we? I see that eating grin on your face.
So we could go back to sprint car because I won in 410 wing sprint cars, 360 wing sprint cars, 410 non-wing sprint cars.
And those are big differences.
Vastly different. Nobody put dirt late model.
Oh, dirt late model is a big one.
Pavement late models.
Yes.
With Randy Sweet.
This is great.
Super modifieds. So the big offset super modified.
Like Oswego? You won in not
an Oswego car, but I won the Copper. I didn't win the Copper Classic. I won at Madera in a super modified.
You've done it all.
Modifieds.
Yes, my modifieds.
Big block modifieds.
Ooh, center steers.
Modifieds.
Damn.
I won an IMCA modified race at IRP one night.
Kyle Larson got a long way to go. He really does. And I don't know if he'll have enough time.
Well, this conversation's come up a lot lately because there's been a lot of controversy with Formula One and Kyle Larson and everything. What Kyle Larson's done that's different than me is he hasn't ran all those different types of cars and hasn't won races in them. But the cars he has ran, he's done big things in. I mean, he's a Cup champion. Yeah. He's won the Knoxville Nationals. I ran the 360 Knoxville Nationals and couldn't get out of the D main. So I mean, I was okay. I won some 360 wing sprint car races and 410 races, but not like Kyle Larson does. I've won dirt late model races. He's won a couple dirt late model races, but he is so good in an era where things are so much more competitive, equipment wise and talent wise. But he's in a smaller genre. He runs 3 or 4 different types of cars, but when he does do it, he's very, very good at it. I have no doubt if he had the time to run all the other stuff that he would be good at all those too and would figure it out. But it is really hard to do that. I was way outside the box from everybody else. Everybody got in this mode of, they wanted to be a NASCAR Cup champion. So what do? You get up, you start driving go-karts, you start driving Legends cars and Bandoleros, and then you move to the pavement late model at Hickory, and then you go around an ARCA car or a K&N car, and you just work your way up the path. I was all over the place. I mean, while I was learning how to drive an Indy car and a Busch Series car in 96 on the same year as a rookie, I was running pavement IMCA modifieds, dirt late models, midgets, sprint cars. I was still running all of it while learning how to try to drive these other cars. So I just never focused on one thing. I am a big believer and beat the drum that the more seat time you can get in anything is valuable to a driver, because as you go up through the ranks, you're going to be learning new cars. Well, if you can't adapt to that, you're not going to be successful. So through the process, if you're running a different car all the time and having to adapt to it, you're already half the way there. You're learning how to be attentive to what the car is telling you versus saying, this is the feel I like. This is what I'm looking for. Well, you may not get it with a certain type of car. You may not get that feel. So you have to be able to learn how to adapt and figure out what the car is telling you that it wants and figure out what you have to do with your hands and feet inside that car to make it happen. So I'm a big believer in that.
On this same conversation, I know that you have great peripheral vision. You watched Rick Hendrick allow Kyle Larson to go back and run sprint cars. We've just watched your old boss, Joe Gibbs, has now allowed Christopher Bell.
And I want to go choke him out because it was like almost fist fights with each other. We never got that part, but I mean, we would literally argue and fight over me going and running a late model on a Friday night. It's crazy, but I'm very appreciative that we're now in this form of this era of motorsports where these other car owners are seeing the value in it and finally realizing that what I said 25, 30 years ago is right, that this is valuable for these guys to do this.
Yeah. And this is just the racer in me. I just can't get over how Christopher Bell got in that, World of Outlaw sprint car. And he reminded us that, he's just not good at the Chili Bowl. I mean, he kicked ass at Volusia and out there in Vegas. I mean, I had no idea how good Christopher was in a wing car. And you were the innovator, my friend.
I remember sitting in the motorhome at Atlanta one night with Kyle Larson, and we were watching the Western States race. I think it was sprint cars and midgets at Calistoga, California. And he was real excited about it. I'm like, why are you so excited about a regional race? Yeah, we're race fans. We want to watch a race, but he was really amped up about watching it. And he goes, you need to watch this guy. And I'm like, well, who is it? He goes, Christopher Bell. I'm like, never heard of him. He goes, he's better than me.
Wow. Yeah. And now he's saying that about Corey Day.
Yep.
He's saying about Corey Day. That this is good stuff because I feel like, obviously there was, and by the way, you quickly returned my text. I went and saw AJ Foyt. It was I was obsessed with it. I saw this special on Flow and I got a hold of him and I drove up to Indy. But anyway, my point is I spent 6 hours with AJ and man, oh man, is he gnarly. Whoa. Yeah. I knew AJ when I was changing tires on Rusty's USAC car. And I was a little, but we had a good time. But, before him, I don't know, was there Parnelli Jones or AJ Foyt and Kenny Schrader then Tony. And, there's this very small list, maybe on 5 or 10 fingers. And I feel like you're in, now Kyle, but man, I just had to go through that list. Tony, thank you for going through that list of cars. And it led to a little bit different conversation, which was still fun. Okay. We are coming to the end here, but there's something else we got to talk about. Your social media. I liked it. They said, I deemed you Mr. Las Vegas, and help us finish this too, if we're wrong, but on X, your social media team listed that you have wanted everything at Vegas. And listen, it's just easy. I'm going to read it right off their social media for everybody that's listening, because this is going to be on Dirty Mo podcast, Tony. Dale Jr. gave me a call. So we're on YouTube, but we're also on Dirty Mo podcast. So Tony Stewart is Mr. Las Vegas, and here's why. And I'm going to read it right off your X site. Tony Stewart has won an event on all of the tracks at Las Vegas Motor Speedway property. The drag strip, the 2025, the one you just did, NHRA 4-wide Nationals, and the 2023 Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series and Top Alcohol Dragster. The dirt track, his first USAC Silver Crown event on October 18th, 1997. And I know your mind is going right now, so here we go. Las Vegas Motor Speedway captured his 1997 IndyCar Championship and earned the 2012 NASCAR Cup Series event win. I almost need a drink because we're still going here. The Las Vegas, yeah, you take a drink. Now we're going to go over to the Las Vegas Bull Ring pavement short track. You won in a USAC Nation midget in 2002 and also won in a sprint car in the same night. And finally, and the dirt track Las Vegas Motor Speedway won the 2010 Las Vegas Sprint Car Nationals. Holy crap. I mean, does gambling go that good for you too?
No. God, no. I'm a way better driver than I am at gambling, but no, we've had a lot of luck. That is right. We've won a wing sprint car race at the dirt track. We won our first Silver Crown race at the dirt track, the IRL championship, and one cup race at the cup track. The midget and sprint car at the Bull Ring that night, and now 2 races on the drag strip. So they go, yeah, we're going to Vegas. I just smile.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I love that. Okay. I know last time we talked, you kind of taught me, you said, Herm, we don't need to end, but I want to thank your whole organization for taking out time. And I want to come down to the end.
You and I had this organized first. I just screwed it up by winning the race on Sunday, and then I do a whole media day now. So we had to shoehorn.
I told Charlie, I said, Charlie, isn't this crazy time? And I asked Tony if he would come on last week. And you know, Charlie and I were dreaming of having you for the 100th, and we're airing this right away. Okay. Your father, Nelson, listen, when we all grew up, my dad was rough around the edges. My dad would, you know, if I didn't, you know, and then I wasn't great, right? But if I didn't do real good, Dad was like, why? And then older my dad got, I loved him more. So with that being said, your dad, Nelson, and Charlie is going to edit this up real quick, and he's going to drop pictures in right now. This picture just makes me smile because your father is very nice to me. But there's this picture out there right now with you, your father, Nelson, your wife, Leah, and your newborn, Dominic. That whole picture, it has your father changed now with this new drag racing world, but especially with Dominic.
He's always, once I started going to the drag races with Leah, he started coming to him.
Oh,
and he wasn't a big drag race fan. He liked it, but he, you know, same as me. It's like we liked it, but we never went to one. So when I started dating Leah, he started coming to a couple events and he liked it. And then obviously when I started running the Top Alcohol Dragster, he came a lot more because he got to watch his son run. He got to watch his daughter-in-law run. And then when I started running Top Fuel, he came to even more races last year. And we ran a regional race at Norwalk, Ohio. And he came to that event and he sat down with me and he goes, I don't think, you know, he's 80. He just turned 87, April 4th, and still drives a race car.
He looks good, man.
Drives a 3/4 midget, which we didn't add to your list. You can put that at the bottom of the list.
That's the Tony Stewart I know.
But he told me, he goes, I don't think I'm going to run all the TQ races next year. And you know, for years, my sister Natalie and I've been sitting there going, you know, what do we do? You know, do we let him keep racing? Do we not? And we kind of came to the agreement that as long as he's not a weapon and he's not tearing up, if he's tearing his own stuff up, so be it. If he's tearing somebody else's stuff up, then we might have to intervene. But we've just kind of came to the agreement that until that point happens, you got to let him race, man. I mean, the worst thing we could have happen is take him out of his race car. Yeah. So to hear him say that kind of caught me off guard. Well, I'm still in the middle of the race day, and you know we're getting ready for semifinals, and ended up making the finals, but it caught me off guard. And then I was driving the motorhome home after the event, and I was like, man, I know exactly why he's done this. It's not about he doesn't want to race as much, because he goes, I want to come to more of your races next year. And I couldn't put it together. Well, you know, this is in July, I think, when we were up there, or August, and just couldn't really understand why he wanted to do that. And I'm driving the motorhome back, and the light bulb clicked on. I went, this has nothing to do with him wanting to come watch me race more next year. He wants to be around his grandson more.
That's awesome.
Come to more races. So that moment, and I'm going to send you a video. I'm going to send you a video that will be perfect for that, to tell you what my dad is like now. It's him running to find me, because they bring you back after you win the race. They do the top end interview, and the winners spray champagne off the stage. There's nobody up there. It's just for the camera guys. And then they put you in the back of a pickup truck, and they bring you down the racetrack in front of the crowd and everything. And they've got this little aluminum stage they set up on the track, and they invite all the race fans down to be a part of the celebration. And did the interview, and Leah comes up with Dominic, and I mean, I'm a wreck. I was about to show, because I'm trying to not cry. I'm like trying to be manly and excited, holding my trophy up like everybody else does. And then here comes my wife and my son, and I'm like,
lost it. True emotion.
So after that, they take us and take us right to Victory Lane to do the photos. And my dad couldn't figure out where I was at. And I just got the photo of my dad running in cowboy boots on a sticky racetrack. Fly paper. He's running in cowboy boots to find me, to give me a hug. So he still does care that I win, but trust me, when he's there, he wants to see his grandson more than anything, I think.
Oh man, this is fantastic. Well, Tony, your PR lady has been gracious. She said it's time to go. I want to thank you, but one last quick question. We don't got to go into details. I just got to get this in. It's at the very end. When is Leah getting back in Top Fuel, or is she?
I think you're going to see her get in. I know for a fact she's going to test some this summer to get back in the car. We recently just started having these conversations. Obviously, took the year off last year to be pregnant and have our son Dom, but taking off this year, I was ignorant. I'm such an I'll use the R word on myself on this one, on what it takes for a woman to get back going again after having a baby. I had no idea because I've never been a part of it, never been around it. But, her and I had the conversation of, does she get back in this year? And she will tell you that after being at the track and the responsibility she has with the race team, that just doing that and taking care of Dom is a full plate without driving the car. So she took this year off. Yeah. We have started the conversations of when is she coming back and all that. And what does that look like? The crazy thing, and this is part of why I love my wife, I'm worried about her I want to get her back in her race car. I know she's happy driving her race car. My wife cares more about the fact that she's going to kick me out of the race car and that I'm not going to have something to drive. And she knows that if I'm not driving something, I'm less happy as a person. Yeah. And so my wife's trying to debate whether she wants to kick me out of the race car or not so she can drive it just to keep me happy. And I love her for that. But I quickly put my foot down as her husband and said, this is your race team. This is why we started this. I will find something to drive. So don't worry about that. Let's get to her part. So we don't have an answer yet. The official part is we don't have an answer yet. We are talking about it. It is official that she is going to test this summer, which I love. I mean, I made her do the warm-up at Phoenix. And I remember when the warm-up was over in the pit and she shut it off, she took her mask off and she looked at me and she goes, you might have regretted that. And I'm sitting there going, that's what I wanted to hear. I want that pass for my wife to get in the race car again. But yeah, I'm not excited about potentially getting fired at the end of this year or next year or whenever it is. But at the same time, I'll find something. But I want to see my wife drive a race car again. I love watching her drive.
Why do I think about this complete John Force Racing family? You know, John, his daughters. I think you and Leah could set NHRA on fire. Could you see that husband and wife in the finals? It can happen easily.
Yeah.
You too.
You're thinking of the cool part of it. You're not thinking of the part of this. Because this is where my head is. We make the finals. Yeah. And I win the race, and I don't even feel like I could celebrate on there because immediately, as soon as I get out of the car, I'm going to get a notice saying, you get to sleep on the couch for an undisclosed amount of time. We don't know how long you're going to sleep on the couch. Or the other way, if I lose and she's celebrating, my phone's going to blow up and all my buddies are going to go, ha ha, you got your ass kicked by your wife today. Yeah. So there is a no-win situation for me, but we even talked about that in the conversation. It would take a lot. Financially, it would take a lot to start a third team. And we currently don't have a building big enough to do it. We could add on to our building and do it, but it just takes a lot. But she has assured me that that's what her wishes would be, is that we get to race against each other. And she has promised me with a pinky swear that it would not be held against me no matter what the outcome of the race is. So part of me kind of looks forward to potentially having that opportunity down the road as well, hopefully. But first and foremost, I want to see my wife back in her race car. Yeah,
I'm a dad of 3 girls, and we'll end like this. Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney, the ladies are incredible, and in NHRA, and I love them all. They're such badasses, and just like Leah is, she's a complete badass. The very first Kenny conversation, and probably the number 1 driver in my generation, Tony Stewart. Tony, thank you for doing this.
Man, for you, I wouldn't have missed this for the world, bud. You know that.
Well, I really appreciate it. So we're going to call this the Kenny conversation because I feel like if I have to make an audible, it shouldn't be back and forth like a tennis game. If you want to interrupt, same here. We'll have a good time. So let's start it out like this. That Smoke, that nickname, Smoke, it is so badass. The logo on your belt, on all your fire suits. I don't know if we've ever got to the bottom of that. We know it's Smoke, but when and where and when did you realize they were naming you that?
Well, it's evolved, let's say, over the years, but it started at IRP in Indianapolis at Raceway Park. and I was driving a USAC sprint car for Steve Chrisman, and him and his family live about 30 minutes from here in southern Indiana. And I don't remember exactly what happened that started it, but came off of turn 4 and 2 of us banged wheels, and I got sideways, and it slid right past the end of the pit wall going into turn 1 and slid in the grass. Well, you've been to IRP. You remember what's down there, light poles.
Yeah.
So went sliding by the light poles, probably about 10, 15 feet away from, which would have been a disaster if we'd have hit those. And got back in, and the older brother, and he's strictly 100% farmer, goes, "Man, you about smoked those poles, bud."
Oh.
So he started calling me smoker all the time. And that car that I was driving had a tunnel ram injection. So it literally had 2 intakes about this big around. I mean, when you open it, it was like flushing a toilet. But instead of 8 little small stacks, it had 2 big butterflies that opened up, and it would go lean very easy there. So it made it a little hard to drive on the exit of the corner. So I was always hazing the tire a little bit. I was still learning throttle control and how to manage, at that time, about 750 horsepower. So get away from the USAC side, and I went IndyCar racing with Team Menard, and we blew motors up left and right. And the IndyCar guys knew my nickname was Smoke, but they kind of changed the meaning of it to, well, we had smoke coming out of the back of this thing. It goes, there goes smoke again, blowing another motor up. So it's changed over the years, the definitions as we went to different series and teams, but it started at IRP in a sprint car.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. I have all these questions lined up, but this is the perfect segue. I feel like great race car drivers like yourself, God-given talents. I was always taught that there's a string from your brain to your ass, to your foot, your hands. You're really good at throttle control. So you're saying that those early days is what taught that ankle of yours? Is there 1,000 different spots in that throttle?
You better have it. And that's exactly what I tell everybody. You better have 1,000 spots on that throttle in every race car you drive, other than a drag car. We'll get to that later, but you got to have 1,000 spots, and you better know where they're at all the time. So when I broke my leg in 2013, that was the biggest thing we focused on, because obviously it was my lower right leg, broke both the bones, had to go through a lot of physical therapy. When I started, my foot literally went 3 positions. It was here, and then wide open. So we actually mocked up a steering wheel and a pedal system, and had the same amount of pressure on the throttle pedal. And it was just like a simulator that you would see for iRacing now, but there was no video with it. So it literally was a steering wheel, a steering shaft. I had 2 shock absorbers on the end of the steering shaft, and I'd just sit there while I was watching TV and just turn it back and forth and back and forth, and was working my foot the entire time. And it went from 3 different positions to back to that 1,000 eventually.
I remember a story you told me. You've been banged up a couple times. Didn't you get injured real early? And you told me that to bring yourself back to 100% like you thought you needed to be, you went to a really nice local go-kart track.
You're onto it. We, I would say this, it was the end of 96. And it was the end of the first IRL season. The season finale was at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, first event on the racetrack. And it was in, I believe, July. And it was 102 degrees out. And myself and my teammate, Mark Dismore, both blew right rear tires and hit the wall. And it hit flat left side. So broke my shoulder blade, my collarbone, back of my left hip, and pelvis on the left side. And I was living in an apartment with one of the crew guys on my team who also came from the midget ranks. And I started at my mother's house, and because we were on 3rd floor apartments, so getting up and down steps.
This is 1996.
Yeah, it was not a good deal. No elevator to get up and down. And but I went to Stefan Johansson's go-kart track on the west side of Indianapolis, and a guy named Sean Britt was the general manager there, and he literally would come pick me up at 7:30 every morning. Almost,
so Smoke can get up early.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm getting older. I'm starting to get up earlier and earlier, and it pisses me off. So, but he would literally carry me down 2 flights of stairs every day, load me in his car, take me to the karting center. They had one cart that had timing and that had lap times on it. They had a lap counter on it. And he would put me in that cart with a full tank of fuel. The very first day I made it 5 minutes and had to get out. Then ran 5 more minutes, and that's all I could do. By the end of 20 days, I got to where I could sit there and ride through a full tank of gas. Like literally would start at 8 in the morning, and by the time 11 o'clock came, it would run out of fuel. And I'd ran a whole tank of fuel out in an indoor go-kart track, which takes a lot to do. But I was, the reason I'm bringing this up is,
no, I like it.
What I was super impressed about with Sean was he would sit there and grab a stack of paperwork, and he would go into the control booth, which was out in the karting area where the computer was. And he would do paperwork, and he would look at the lap times. And as soon as he, indoor karting track, they're really slick. So the longer you run, the more heat you're building in the tires, the faster you go, faster you go, faster you go. As soon as he would see those lap times start slowing down and going the other way, he knew I was getting tired. And he'd let me run about 4 or 5 more laps like that. And if it didn't come back down, he'd stop me and make me get out for a couple minutes, get a drink of water, put me back in, get me packed in with foam, send me back out. And by the end of that, like I said, didn't stop at all. So lap times would just literally get faster to a certain point, and then they'd just stay level and stayed consistent. So he was a very big factor in me getting healed up and back in a race car quicker.
It reminds me of I once asked Dale Sr., I don't know if you remember that Bud shootout back in the day, Bush Clash, whatever they called it. He kept starting last and going to the front, starting last, and he dominated. And I said, my gosh, you were fast. And he says, when you have a good horse, ride it.
Yeah.
Your conversation, you kind of mix that in with as good as you are, you still work really hard at your craft. And I want the young kids to understand what you're saying. So that leads me to this question. I think that you're a God-given talent. I think, there's times I looked up and said, Lord, why didn't you give me some of Tony Stewart's talent? Have you ever in your career, after everything you've accomplished, just for a moment, driving down the road by yourself, going, I'm a little different than everybody else? Now, I know you're humble, but have you ever thought that?
I'm very grateful to the man upstairs for giving me the talent that I have, for sure. Because, I got a text from a buddy of mine that was the very first go-kart I ever drove at a racetrack, and we're still good friends. I mean, we raced since we were 8 years old in go-karts till he got out of go-karts in our early mid-teens. But yeah, I think about that a lot, to be honest, you've always heard me joke around. They're like, man, you're really good. And I'm like, well, I had to be because I'm too lazy to work a real job.
Yeah.
But then years go on, and you realize there's not a lot of truth to that in all reality. Because I didn't like working real jobs. I didn't like, I worked at McDonald's 2 different times while I was in school, and right after I graduated until I got settled in somewhere. I've worked some really crappy jobs along the way to get where we're at, but it was all so I could race. And I've realized in motorsports, people don't realize how much work's involved in it from a driver's standpoint. Now, you talk about car owners and crew guys, ton of work involved, but it's equally taxing for us as drivers, because we constantly have to think about what we're doing. I mean, you take guys nowadays, this day and age, most guys are very single lane on what they want to run. When they're young, their parents, the soccer mom and dads are in full swing in motorsports now too. And they have their kids' path planned for them, and their kids buy right into it. And it's a single dimensional plan. They're either going an IndyCar route, they're going a NASCAR route, they're going a sprint car route, one or the other. That's what I see.
You hopped and weaved.
Yeah. And I did it, all of it at some point. So, but it's what you don't see is kids jumping back and forth from different cars. And I think that is honestly what has helped build me to who I am. It wasn't so much all the hard work, and it was all the hard work, but every car you drove was different. And everything that car wanted you to do with your hands and feet was different. So you had to be smart enough and sharp enough to sit there and say, okay, the car's telling me what it wants. I just got to figure out how to manipulate it so it will do what I want it to do.
Yeah.
But you have to do what the car is asking. So I always felt like that was an advantage for me, going to new racetracks, going and driving new cars, is that I never got stuck with one feel. I got used to a lot of different feels, and then it made it a lot easier to learn something new every time we made a new step.
I so badly want to get to the start of the show, which is your drag racing. But, these conversations are leading me in different directions. Mark Martin was interviewed, and they said, Mark Martin, tell us about Tony Stewart. It's true. You're a badass. You're a tough guy. You're a chip off the old AJ Foyt block. But Mark said, you're a lover. You're a philanthropist. You do such good deeds. So we know you're a tough guy, but at heart, you're a lover. I mean, you're talking about the man carrying you up and down the steps. We hear that you go back to the Dairy Queen, to the original owner. I know what you do. Are you both? Are you a lover and a tough guy? How would you assess yourself?
Yeah, I hate for you to say that, because then you're going to ruin my bad reputation.
Well, you're a badass. We already know that. But okay, I'll ask you this. Are you a lover?
Yeah, there's a softer side to me too. And my eyes are wandering around, because I'll be honest, this is the first day in 4 months that I've been back to my ranch in Indiana.
You're checking your place out while you're talking
I'm
to me.
looking out the windows because it's turkey season, and I'm watching 8 turkey cruising along the back of the window. I'm like, man, if I could sneak out there and hide, one of you would have a bad day.
That's awesome.
No, I do. You mentioned the Dairy Queen. I mean, they sponsored me when I was 9 years old in a go-kart, and one of my best friends in town now works for me here at the ranch. And I literally texted him before I sat down in the chair to talk to you. I said, hey, as soon as we get done, let's go see Bob at Dairy Queen, because I know he'll give me a free shake, which a shake's about $1.75 now. So, but he is the same guy, same store. I race a 3/4 midget in Indiana here when I have spare time. And my dad's 85 years old. He races one. That's why I still race. But when we run the Columbus Fair and the fairgrounds here, if we win the race, I always do just like I did every Saturday night when I raced go-karts. If we win the next day, I take the trophy into him. He sets it on the counter for the entire year. And then I get it at the end of the season.
Okay, this is perfect. This is perfect. Now, let me start. We've done 20 minutes and didn't even start the conversation. So everybody knows that you've done it all. I mean, if, in this new era, if I Google Tony Stewart, I mean, NASCAR champion, IndyCar champion, don't make me go down the list, but you've done it all. There's nothing else to do except what Tony wants to do. We all know that. So you go to race NHRA, and but now you end up in Vegas last week, and now you've already done it all, but you win your first NHRA drag race. You send the whole United States, and not the States, the world, in a tizzy, because now it's like, holy crap, he's winning at drag racing. So are you taking that Wally to the Dairy Queen?
I don't know about the Wally. It's a little different than a fairgrounds trophy at a TQ race, but that was one thing when I got home last night and I was grabbing everything out of the truck and bringing it inside. When we win an SRX race, or we win a sprint car race, or whatever it is, if we win something, we always bring it to the kitchen first. And, my housekeeper here, we call her Berta, like Berta from 2.5 Men. Yeah. She's just got as much spunk, and she doesn't care if it's Johnny Morris that's staying at the house or you or anybody else. She's going to give me the same crap and the same grief. Like, I haven't even seen her yet this morning, and I guarantee when I go out there, she's going to look at me and go, "You're here?"
Yeah.
How long till you leave again? So, I mean, I just guarantee that's what she's going to say. But I love putting it out there because she likes to see it. My buddy Mark that works for us loves to see it when they get here. And, then it's a topic of, talking about the race weekend and talking about how it went.
So you went to Vegas, and I want to get to that, but you do something that comes out a little bit later, came out immediately in your interview, but we all didn't hear about it. You've gone to Vegas a lot in your life. You've won on the Cup track. you won on the bull ring, you've won on the dirt track, and now you've done historical things. Now you've won in everything on the Vegas complex. Once you realized what you've done, I think you realized it in Victory Lane from the videos I saw. That's a pretty big feather in your cap. Possibly nobody could ever do that.
We honestly thought about it last fall when we ran second at the NHRA race. The very first race I ran, I lost by 2/10,000ths of a second, which literally is 1 inch. It is that big. And there are 15,840 inches in a quarter mile.
That's
so
incredible.
You can imagine driving a quarter mile, 15,840 inches, and you lose by 1.
Are you smarter at math now because of drag racing?
No, it just the good thing is we all got phones and they got
yeah.
way easier for us. But yeah, I sat there last year, and after we won the semifinals, I'm like, holy crap! If we won, I got thinking about it, like I won at the bull ring in a non-wing sprint car and a midget. Then I won in an ASCS national race, 360 race at the dirt track. I won my first USAC Silver Crown race on the dirt track. 1 cup win at the big track, and then we were 1 inch away from completing it. But who would have known that, 4 races later and in the spring, we're going to come back to Vegas and we're going to win by 3/10,000ths of a second, which is 1.5 inches, and end up completing it. So that was probably, aside from, I think there were 3 things that I was so grateful of at the top end when we got out of the car. I was just so excited that we won, because you and I are racers. It doesn't care till the day we die. We're going to be racing something. If it means we got to race to the toilet to see who gets to the toilet first, or to get to the buffet, or to get to down the hall to see our girlfriend at the nursing home, whatever it's going to be, we're going to always be racing something. So the win was exciting to begin with. And then I thought, man, this is so great for this team that I'm with, the McPhillips family. It's Rich Sr., Rich Jr. We call Rich Sr. Pops, so I'll refer to him as Pops. But him and Eric and Bill and Renee, those are the 5 people that really work on my car. And the car that I drove last weekend was not the car that I ran at Vegas last fall that we had success with. They were building a brand new car already for Richie, the son. And after the Vegas race, then they decided they wanted to put a deal together for me to drive the new car this year. So we started the year very, very slow and rough, and preseason testing, we ran a couple days, could not get any speed out of the car. Ran the Baby Gator Nationals, which is the weekend before the Gator National event, slow. Went to the Gator Nationals, slow. Went to Pomona, slow. Like literally couldn't get this car to get out of its own way. And it was literally the biggest part of it was the first 60 feet of the run. Just couldn't get the car to take off and launch. And but they were pulling their hair out. Pops, I don't know him that well, but I mean, I could see every run that we would come back, just the stress and torment in his eyes. He just was so frustrated. But after the Pomona race before Vegas, we took the car to Bakersfield, California, and did a test there. And it didn't show any promise either. I went there. Richie drove the car. I said, hey, this was going to be your car. You need to do the test session and drive it. And didn't see anything out of the day that we tested. But in between the test and going to Vegas, they found 2 things that were very big and very important that they had missed on, and had found a couple other areas that we made improvements on. So I literally on Friday at Vegas, when I stepped on the gas to do the burnout, I'm like, whoa, this thing's woke up now. I can tell it's a different race car. And he told me the whole laundry list. I mean, intake, camshafts, did some stuff in the rear end, freeing the rear end up. We had an alignment issue with the motor and the drive lines, just little things that added up. But it literally was a way different race car. And Friday, the 2 qualifying rounds we didn't even make it down the track. It'd make it a second and a half into the run and literally shake the tires so bad you had to lift. So we knew we were way on the other side of the needle at that point. And that's a good feeling. I mean, it's like a racehorse. It's way easier to slow that horse down than it is to sit there and get the whip out and try to get more speed out of it. So we had power. We just had to kind of pull it back and figure out where it needed to be. So for the most part, when we started on Friday, it was like starting all over with a new car.
I love it because this is racer talk, and racers love to hear how you go from not good to testing, overcoming, prevailing. So we're in Victory Lane, and the great Dick Trickle taught me about snapshots. Whether you're in the race car and you're coming off the corner, you look at the mirror, that's a snapshot, or life. Life is full of snapshots. What I really liked about your Victory Lane, and I tuned into that, was your wife, Leah, came and gave you a kiss, and you said to her, I don't have to borrow your Wally anymore.
Yeah.
I have my own. And she looked you square in the face like a competitor, and she says, you earned it. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I do.
It's badass.
I won't forget that moment. Are you kidding me? I mean, I could not wait for her to get down there. The first person to me, and the lady that you saw me hug immediately while I still had my helmet on, was Kelly Antonelli. And Kelly runs TSR for us. She used to run John Force Racing, and she was looking for a change. And we said, hey, what a coincidence. We're looking for somebody. But she's the spine and the backbone of the whole program. So Kelly was the first one I hugged, but I kept looking around for Leah. I'm like, she'll be here any second. But it's a long time. I mean, to get on, to celebrate on the part that you miss as a driver in NHRA is when you win the race, normally you get to celebrate with the team right away. The hard part in NHRA is you're a half mile down the track.
Yeah.
So they celebrate on the line, and then they all get in the tow vehicle and scooters and golf carts and haul ass down the return road to get up there to you. But I remember that. I will never forget that moment. I was so excited to see her up there, and she's really the reason that I'm there. I mean, I for multiple reasons. I mean, we'll dive deeper, obviously, but she's my coach. I mean, she's my driver coach. There's so many things like etiquette of just, I don't even know. And I still don't know. I've ran 5 races now, and I'm still confused on the flags at the top end of the track on who's supposed to turn off first and this and that. And it can be a dangerous situation if you're not paying attention. So they always say, when in doubt, just stop. So, but I'm figuring all those things out. But Leah has been the most amazing teacher you could possibly imagine. I mean, from the day we met, I started asking a lot of questions about the sport because, like you mentioned earlier, I'm a student of motorsports. I want to understand it. I want to know it. I want to wrap my head around it and my hands around it and understand it. So we've talked about a lot of things. And then I've been to the track the last couple of years and been able to watch and learn from that. But then when you get the call that you're going to drive a car for the first time at an event, I'm like, oh crap, there's all these things that I don't know about, and etiquette. I mean, you know how I am as a person in motorsports. You talked about the loving side and the aggressive and frustrating side. A lot of the times when I got mad, people thought I just enjoyed being mad. I hated being mad. I don't like being mad. I'm like you. You and I are 2 peas in a pod. We love having fun. We love laughing, love being around people. I hate getting mad, and I hate getting mad at other competitors. But when I get mad at them, it's always about etiquette. It's about the stuff that Dale Sr. and Rusty Wallace and Dale Jarrett and Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte, all these greats that I raced with, they taught us, and they taught you too when you came up. They taught us the etiquette of how to do it the right way. And if you didn't do it the right way, there was an easy fix for those guys.
They were going to bust your ass.
Yeah, they turned you around, backed you in the fence, and when you were sitting there sliding down the racetrack or stopped or trying to get it fired up to drive it to the pits, you had that time to go, I think I made a mistake, and you had to figure it out. But that's how you learned. And they really don't. It's sad in our sport now how vanilla and wimpy all these drivers are. They literally won't confront each other at the track. They'll just sit there and wait till they get home and beat on each other on Twitter where nobody has to face anybody. So we grew up in a different era and a different age. I don't know how I got off on this tangent.
No, it's a good subject. Don't worry about it. I do it all the time. But let me say this. When we had a gentleman's agreement in the NASCAR Cup Series that when there was a big wreck, we all slowed down, because at the time we didn't have the lines underneath the asphalt to freeze the field. So we froze the field ourselves. Well, early in my career, I raced Terry Labonte. I passed him and I thought, oh, I'm getting him. Terry Labonte took me between the trailers. And to me, that's what you did, Rusty did. They're like, hey, come here. And oh shit. And we went between the trailers, and it was that little private hallway. People like you or Dale Sr., we would address people. Those days are gone.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's I I mean, I remember drivers coming up in the lounge, and it wasn't always bad. Sometimes they'd come in there and tell you when you did something good too, and that you did something right. They would come in and praise you for it. But if you did something wrong, exactly, there were meetings in between trailers. They would literally come in your trailer and talk to you in your own lounge. They'd talk in each other's motorhomes after practice was over or after the race was over. You handled it, and you did it eye to eye. You did it face to face. You did it as men. And exactly what you said. I mean, we didn't have timelines in the racetrack. When the caution came out, you literally were allowed to race to the start finish line.
Yeah.
And you could pick up 10, 15, 20 spots if you wanted, if the caution came out in turns 1 and 2. But everybody, it was handled respectfully. And we did it because when cars wrecked, then we didn't have soft walls, we didn't have containment seats. The safety at that time was as good as it could be at that time, but it had a lot of room for improvement. But we all took care of each other, and there was a proper etiquette. And as time went on, and I tell people, I honestly say, when we lost Dale Sr., that was the beginning of the end of the etiquette. There is no etiquette with these guys anymore, and that's okay, as long as we don't care. You and I don't care what the rules are. We just want it to be the same for everybody, and we want everybody to race the same.
You remember that verbiage, gentleman's agreement?
Yes. Yeah. And we all did great with it. And we had great races, great racing. Everybody respected each other. And sure, there's times that guys made mistakes or went over the line, and we all kept each other in check. But it's definitely a different day and age in NASCAR. And that's what I was, I guess, where I was going with that is that's what I'm trying to make sure I learn in the sport of NHRA is I want to be respectful coming in. It doesn't matter. It does not matter anything that I've done in my past before I got there. I'm a rookie just like everybody else, but I have the way I am as a person and the way as I am as a driver is I want to respect the sport. I want to respect the people in the sport, and I want to learn the etiquette, and I want to do it the right way. And Leah will tell you, I focus on making sure that I'm doing it the right way. I can do things. And then at the end of the day, we'll go to the hotel. I'm like, hey, I did this. Was this right? Was this the right way to do it or not? And literally some of the guys that I line up with for qualifying runs, you're not racing each other, but you're paired up against each other for qualifying. And, in our class, we have injected cars, and then we have some cars that have blowers on them. Mm-hmm. And the way they stage is different than what the alcohol cars that just are injected, how they stage and everything. So I would literally talk to every driver that I was going to and say, hey, help me understand how you need to stage so I don't mess you up, because I don't want to mess your run up. If I mess my run up, that's on me, but I don't want to mess your run up because I don't know what I'm doing. And I think those guys really respect the fact that I don't sit there and go, I don't care about any of these guys. All I care about is myself. I care about the guys I'm racing with. And because of that, I've built a good rapport in a short amount of time with the teams and the drivers that are in my class in the pit area.
Yeah, I want to compliment you. Then we're going to move on from drag racing. Number one, you're the ultimate racer. I'm saying that. The other thing that I know about you is that grown men in racing, they try to be tough guys, and they'll leap over things they should have focused on. But when I'm around you, one thing I've noticed about you is you take the most simplest thing and you're very serious about it. And I noticed that about you years ago. I'm like, Tony's focused in on what I thought was just the simplest thing. And I want to thank you, Tony, because you made me be more mature in that area. So like,
did you just say you're mature?
No, don't. I got everybody thinking I'm a nut right now.
You're gaining on it. Yeah, I think you're gaining on it, but I mean, shit, you got a long way to go, bud.
I want everybody to know that about you, that at the start of a manual of instructions, whether it's life or racing, you're dead serious from the start about just the most simplest thing. So I just wanted to compliment you on that and tell you that you taught me that. You don't got to be a tough guy. Let's get this right. Let's start out right. And that's why when I saw you going to drag racing school, I thought that was so badass. You were learning from the very bottom.
And honestly, when I did that, I had no intention of racing. I literally went at the end of 2020 because, Leah and I met in March. And then toward the end of the season, I had built enough of a rapport with her team to where I was allowed and was asked to sit in the debriefs with the
learning the lingo
and I was sitting there, and I would sit with my shoulders like this, and I would try not to breathe too loud. And I got to listen to all the debrief, and I would listen to Leah talk about the run and what she had to do driving wise. Anybody that thinks a drag race, you just go straight, you end up you could go a straight line to get there, but none of those cars go exactly straight the entire time. So you have to drive. But I sat and listened to all those things, and I sat there, and you and I've both done it. We've all, you and I visit different race tracks and watch different cars race. And when you hear people talk about it, you go, well, we think we understand and know what it would feel like to do that. But when she would talk about something, I'm like, well, in my head, I understand it, but I don't really know what that feels like.
And you wanted to feel it.
So I wanted to go to the drag racing school and just get a better perspective on it. Just so when I sat in those meetings, then I don't have to ask all those questions and at the end of the school, you feel about 1/10 of the things you need to learn, but it gives you a good base and understanding of how it all works. And, I started in a super comp car there at Holly's school, and halfway through the day, he had brought his alcohol car for me to drive as well. And that car is a 220 mile an hour car in a quarter mile. So,
oh my Lord,
get your undivided attention, not because of the speed, but because of the acceleration to get there. I mean, our cup cars cannot get to 200 mile an hour in a quarter mile. It just physically is impossible. So that's how it really started. But I didn't have any intentions at that time of doing anything more than just going to that school.
Oh God, I got to wrap this part up. But when we were at Bike Week, I told you, Tony, I did a whole shot in the Jegs Pro Stock, and I said something to you that I thought was kind of funny, but you took it serious. I said, when I did that whole shot, my brain was here.
Yeah.
And the G-force was so unbelievable because I was already in my 50s and the car was up here. And you said that is a big deal.
Yeah, it really is. It's that's the hardest thing to explain to people, because they're like, man, you can drive anything. Well, I feel like, yeah, I can drive anything. But the thing that happens is, and the easiest way to describe it is, if you wanted to bench press 400 pounds, you don't just start with 400 pounds. You start with a lighter weight, and as you get used to it and you build up to it, then you keep adding the weight and you just keep building and working up. Our brains have to learn to process information. So you think of fighter pilots, and you think of drag racers, and you think about all these people that drive things and fly things that move very quickly and change direction very quickly. Their brain has to learn, and it doesn't just automatically do it. Your brain has to train itself. If it doesn't have an application to grow and be better, it won't. No different than lifting weights and building muscles. So I had to drive slower cars that didn't have as much acceleration as the top fuel car, just to get my brain to start wrapping itself around it. Because I told you, the first time I drove Leah's top fuel car, they said, go to the 330-foot cone, because all the cars you and I've ever driven, if we want to ease up to it, we just run part throttle. And then when we want to go faster, a little more throttle. It doesn't work that way in drag racing, because there's timers, there's all these sensors that have to go off, but you have to stab the gas when the light changes, and then it has to go through and do its work. So to work up to it, you just go shorter distances. You start at the 330 cone, then you go to the 660 cone, then you go to the 1,000-foot, and then you go to the end of the quarter mile in the alcohol car. So, but I hit the gas, got to the 330 cone and saw the 330 cone, shut it off, and my brain was probably at 150 feet. And like I tell everybody, I've driven Leah's car 16 runs. I went 322 miles an hour to 3.76 laps time. And that's hauling ass. Yeah. Well, they're running into 330s when they're hauling ass, but 322 was fast for me. But trying to get your brain to understand, and you and I, we could go to Bristol in happy hour and run 100 laps in happy hour before it was over in a 1-hour session. In a 8-hour day at an NHRA track, if you have a good day, you can get four runs in. With the alcohol, you get 5 maybe. So to try to get your brain to understand and learn all these things, it takes time to do it. And that's really how I ended up in the alcohol car with the McPhillips family. Is I drove her car at Vegas a year ago and spun the tires the last 2 runs out after 200 feet and didn't even know I was spinning the tires because it was still pulling at 1.6 Gs. I mean, it's still pulling hard, but I couldn't feel it. And I got very frustrated. And also at the same time, the reality came in of, when the thing goes down through there and there's no problems, it's okay. It's the 40 things that could happen during that run of a cylinder going out or spinning the tires and not catching it quick enough. There's just so many things that you got to be prepared for and ready for it. That's what scared me of, if I'm behind the car and something happens, there's a good chance I can't catch up to it to recover it. So that's why I took a step back and came down to run alcohol.
I totally get it. I'm going to end the drag racing segment as I flew with the Blue Angels, and I was pulling 6-8 Gs, and I was going out, and the pilot was just flying beautifully because, like you said, he worked up to it. Yeah. You're right. You got to train your brain. So, Tony, let's move on. Whoops, boy, that was loud. Listen, I take this interview serious. I got notes.
You actually have notes.
Well, I wanted
Who wrote them out for you?
What?
Who made them for you? Because you didn't write those out yourself.
I did them all. I swear to God. You know what I do, Tony? I get on my phone and I make, there's me and Kim. I got a note section. Connie from Sparkle called me. But anyway, I get that note section.
Helmets in.
Yeah, uniforms. I think that's for your SRX deal.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to be down there. I'm going down to Charlotte. By the way, you've done a really good job with that SRX deal, and I'm honored. August 17th, that last SRX race at Wheatland, you all invited me, and that's a big honor for the third child that always feels lesser. So I'm going to fit my seat.
You are the one that I'm worried about at that event. That you're the one that I'm like, you're the guy of the group that I got circled. That this is the guy that I'm going to have to beat for the win if I'm going to win that race.
Stop it. Well, so we got to move on to NASCAR. You are the part owner of Stewart Haas. It's a big responsibility. And we all know, okay, I'm saying this, you're not. Gene called you, somebody called you, you go there. I mean, this is Christmas. You save the day, you immediately win a championship. You got, all your people in place. And now Stewart Haas is one of the top tier teams. There's no, as Rusty would say, no doubt about that. So you're a full-fledged owner now, and you have all the right to say whatever you want to say because you know everything now about NASCAR. Even though you're running NHRA, you can do everything at the same time. I say Tony can chew gum and walk at the same time better than anybody. So I'm going to ask you some questions about NASCAR because I've heard you already. So I'm already a little privy to what you think. Tech inspection with these new next-gen cars and the penalties. What's your opinion on this? I don't want you to get in trouble.
The bad thing is I have an opinion about it. I have a very strong opinion about it.
You got the same as mine.
But, and I said this at Bristol when, we were down with Chris Myers and Clint and I were doing the pre-race show, and it was discussed about, the Hendrick saga of getting penalized and losing points and crew chief suspended. And then they win the appeal. And then the next week, 2 more cars go back and a windshield screw gets cut off and they lose all these points again for a windshield screw that got cut off. So, this is the part that I really hate about the sport right now. And this is what frustrates me about NASCAR right now is, I do have an opinion. I have a very strong opinion about how they're doing things. But if I say something,
you're an owner. We got to remember that.
Then it's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me points. Yep. It's going to hurt my drivers. It's going to hurt my organization. And so as much as I have an opinion, I'm scared to voice it because NASCAR has shown now you can't have an opinion. You can have an opinion, but keep your mouth shut is basically the moral of the story.
So let me say it. And I don't want you to answer because one thing we want to remind everybody is that you are a NASCAR owner. And I think we all lose sight of that because you announce the races, you drag race, you got Donnie Schatz in the World of Outlaws. You do so much good for motorsports throughout the world. Tony, thank you for doing that. But I want to say this. Kyle Petty said it exactly right. He says, when Daddy, people in the South call their dads Daddy. When Daddy raced, when it was Lee Petty, Kyle Petty, Richard Petty, all the Pettys, he said, when we went to the racetrack, it was us against them. So my opinion is this. Look, we're coming to the racetrack. Here's my car. Jack it up. Do whatever you want. We're going to go through inspection as many times as you want at this racetrack. But I paid $500,000 for this car, or $450, whatever it is. And when I leave, it's my car. I don't think it's right to continue inspection when you leave the facility, because I've given you all the, hey, listen, we can find anything wrong with your house if I go to your house.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tony and Joyce, So if you're going to take my race car and study it, that's not right. You inspected it at the racetrack when we unloaded, before qualifying, before the race. I beat you. The end.
I feel comfortable with this because I've said it before.
Okay, you're saying it.
and you remember this when I started, and when you had already been in the sport for a little while. When I started, there were 2 guys in the tower that had a stopwatch in each hand. 2 guys, a total of 4 stopwatches to sit there and time 43 cars on pit road for pit road speeding. Correct?
You're all 100% right.
If you or I pissed off NASCAR the week before, or we got under their skin or ruffled their feathers, guess what happened the very next week? Got a pit road speeding penalty.
100%.
And that's how NASCAR kept the etiquette and kept the drivers in line and kept control. And we all understood that.
Yep.
And it was like, yeah, we get it. And on top of that, if you really went overboard, they'd call you to the trailer and have a talk with you, and they would explain why they have to do things the way they do. And I don't want this to sound like a bash session against NASCAR, because
no, you're not.
They have the hardest job in motorsports to control all this. So now we're in an era where they've kind of backed themselves in a corner a little bit. Now you got all this gambling and betting on the sport. Well, they can't sit there and give you a pit road speeding penalty if it's not warranted. If you didn't do it, they can't charge you for a pit road speeding penalty like they used to.
Now you changed the outcome of the game if you did.
Now you've changed it, and you're controlling the sport from that standpoint and screwing up the betting. So they don't do that anymore. There's no debris cautions where somebody threw a water bottle out and it's clear against the inside wall and they want a caution because they want to bunch the field up. They literally cannot do that anymore.
Yeah.
So now, if you're NASCAR, how do you control everything afterwards? And how do you control when Kevin Harvick's mad and he's talking about the cars are unsafe and they're talking about this procedure screwed up and that? How does NASCAR then keep these guys under control? They take their cars back to the shop.
And they find it.
They tear it down, just like you said, my house. They tear it down until they find something they don't like. And every car is going to have something that they can find. So that's their way of controlling it. Yeah. So with that, again, it's again why it's like the inspection process and this and that. Man, the disco room and the lasers and all that to scan it, the technology involved in that and how good a job NASCAR has done to control that is amazing. It's phenomenal. The Hawkeye system, they had to figure all that out and figure out how to control all this. NASCAR's done an amazing job from that standpoint. But I agree with you. To sit there and be upset because somebody said something, the Denny Hamlin case is a perfect example. He gets on his podcast a day or two later and says what he says. Well, what's the statute of limitations?
Yeah.
2 years ago,
a year from now?
Years ago, I wrecked Denny Hamlin on purpose. Well, what are you going to do? Take the win away now? I mean, what do you do? What? And that's what I asked him in a meeting. I said, where does it stop? It's like, you can't control, you can't babysit, you can't monitor everything. And I think they are making mistakes, but it's their playground, it's their rules, and we all play by them.
So let's move on. That way I can keep you and me out of trouble, because
I constantly live in a state of trouble. It's just how little or big is it getting?
My brother Rusty says, Herm, I watch all that stuff you do. He says, you push it just far enough. Like, well, let me know if I go over to the line. So,
hey, like I said, I just want everybody to understand, I still love the sport of NASCAR. Yes. I still love what it's about. There's just some growing pains with the new car, and there's some things that I feel like they've kind of got down a check on, but it's not for us to judge that. It's their game, and they always have said, and I remember Brian France saying, if you don't like it here, you don't have to be here. You can leave at any time. The sport was here before you got here, and it'll be here long after you leave. And he was absolutely right. But at some point, they all have to realize too that we're all working together to make it better.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I interviewed, we talked to Jonathan Davenport at Bristol for that NASCAR race day show came back. And I said, Jonathan, I want to de-bullshit this. I said, it's dirt fans hate NASCAR. I said, you're here to run the cup race. Do you hate NASCAR? He says, Kenny, this is a dream come true. All dirt racers love NASCAR. This is the biggest moment of my life, my career. So you're right. You can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to run NASCAR, but everybody wants to.
The thing about the dirt community, because I have a sprint car series, I have a sprint car team.
Hey, you have the series too. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Got a car that runs World of Outlaws. The mistakes that NASCAR are making are very transparent, and everybody in the industry, and it's like NASCAR doesn't realize the lower, they would consider the lower levels of motorsports, the grassroots level. Look at NASCAR different than they did 10 years ago and 20 years ago. I mean, absolutely, it's every driver's dream to be a NASCAR driver at some point. But then you'll pull in, you and I both do this. We pull into a dirt track and people come over and go, what the hell was NASCAR thinking?
Oh, they
hate NASCAR. Listen to it nonstop. And you can't penalize me for that.
Yeah.
If my cars end up at Tech next week because I said that, they're penalizing the wrong guy. They're making the mistakes, and they've got to somewhat get himself back in check.
Tony, I spend all the time at the dirt tracks trying to, help NASCAR and have these dirt fans go, look, I know you're upset, but NASCAR is awesome. And I spend my whole dirt racing career doing that. So let's move on. I want you to tell me if this is a rumor or not. So the new car, it was said that Rick Hendrick, Roger Penske, Jack Roush, Richard Childress, all the top car owners, I want you to tell me if this is true or false. They went to NASCAR and they said, because you're an owner, they said, save us because we're spending so much money molding these cars. Just let us get a car so we can get rid of, and we got so many employees, it's killing us. Is it true? I'm not saying you, but did all the owners in NASCAR ask for this next gen car?
Absolutely. I mean,
Wow.
it had to happen because the spending per team per year was getting astronomical. The resources that you were having to put into it, and what it was doing was separating lower third, middle third, and top tier teams. The top tier teams were well funded, had a lot of resources. The lower tier teams, it was all they could do to just survive and get cars to the racetrack. So we needed, for the health of the sport, we needed to find a way to cut costs, to cut back on. I mean, I think Gibbs at one point had over 600 employees for 4 cup teams
and running one car, one race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running a car, one race, and then stripping it. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that was the standard. I mean, that's how far the competition has pushed itself, and how technology has got involved and pushed this sport. So the owners realized, for the longevity of it, from the ownership side, that we needed to ask for that. And I think the new car is, I don't know. I have opinions about the new car. I don't think I would have asked a sports car manufacturer to design a stock car.
Mm.
That's where I'll go with that.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to wrap the NASCAR up. Your opinion. So I asked Austin Dillon, I said, Austin, why are you all beating the hell out of each other? He goes, Kenny, he says, years ago, we knocked the radiator out. You couldn't do it. He goes, they got these things so strong. They're like German tanks. And that's the reason we're beating the hell out of each other. Now, with that said, you're the best, Tony. You're one of the best the sport's ever seen. Because the front ends are strong, should we be beating the hell out of each other?
Well, you're onto something there. The front ends are strong. The toe links in the rear are not strong. That's the thing that you have to guard. I mean, you can change them obviously during a pit stop, but that is the weak link. I mean, we used to be able to bang off the wall and it didn't take us out of the race. Now it screwed the sheet metal up and probably had a tire rub with it. But that's the great thing about the composite bodies. You don't really get as many tire rubs because the bodies will push back out. The hard part is the suspension components and having the toe links in the back for independent rear suspension. I mean, that is kind of a weak link in the cars right now.
Right. All right. We're done with NASCAR. I don't think you and I are in trouble.
Listen, it's going to take a couple weeks. They may be slick about it if they're going to penalize us.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you didn't
I
do
hope
anything.
not. I mean, I say that, and I critique them because I really want the best for the sport, and I appreciate the opportunity I had in NASCAR and what it's given me to reinvest in motorsports and keep going.
So let's wrap it up like this. What is good about NASCAR?
Well, you look over this last 75 years of where it started and where it's at now. I mean, it's incredible. It's the largest form of motorsports in the United States. So to see all the great drivers and now be a part of that 75.
Congratulations, Tony.
Thank you. You sit there and when you get older, you start looking back at the big picture of everything. And you look at what Bill Sr. did and what Bill Jr. and Brian and now Jim France and Ben Kennedy. I think the world of Ben Kennedy. I don't always agree with him and we don't always get along, but I really respect Ben Kennedy. I think he is the future of NASCAR. I think he will carry this sport for the next 50 years easily. Yeah,
Darrell Waltrip, I'll end it like this. Darrell Waltrip said, hey, listen, just because I complain about NASCAR doesn't mean I hate them. I love them.
Right.
It's our sport. So moving on, this will be our last segment. Dirt racing.
Why, you got somewhere else better to be today?
No,
I'm good enough to hang out.
I feel like we've been doing this forever. I'm having a good time.
We've been on here for like 5 minutes.
Are we having a good time?
We're having a great time.
I love that.
And I'm home. I don't have to go anywhere. I have an off day.
I think I keep saying that because I'm not nervous, but this is our first one, and it's a big deal to have one of the greatest drivers. And I won't tell everybody we're good friends. Dirt racing.
Are you still embarrassed about me?
You remember that day? No, I was afraid of you. And when you confronted me about it, you came out of it was Daytona in the RV section. You come up and you said, the media says you're afraid of me. And I said, I am. But we've moved past that. I love you. I was learning you. And we discussed that actually.
Yeah.
I was taking you wrong. And like you said, I think, I would see your tenaciousness and I didn't understand that you were just, going at it, it reminds me of David Ifty, who was my first crew chief. He says, I was going at it with him. I was arguing over a sway bar because I'm kind of a chassis guy. He grabbed me by the collar and said, boy, when we come to this racetrack, we love each other. We're in war. Don't take anything personal.
But we're in war together. We're fighting on the same team.
Yes. And I'll be 60 in August. And sometimes I wish life was the other way around because if I'd have known some of that stuff, but I think that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
So dirt racing, I'm going to say a couple things and maybe you comment on it. Not so much a question. I think in totality of all of America or maybe the world, when I look at auto racing, it seems like the dirt super late models are like the greatest thing in racing. It's just skyrocketing. Everything's better. It's more money to win. Am I wrong or right? Or just comment on that.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I don't even think it's just dirt late models. I mean, we did the Dirt Million last year at Eldora for the late models. This year,
and you own Eldora.
Yeah,
forgot about that one too.
We're doing $1 million to win wing sprint car race this year. So dirt races, they're going through the roof. I mean, Jackson, Minnesota is doing a $250,000 to win wing sprint car race. The purses are getting higher and higher and higher in short track racing, which is great, but it has to. The technology in the dirt late models is way out of control now. I mean, Kevin Rumley is the guy that really started revolutionizing modern late models now to where they're at.
The Ray Evernham of dirt.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the best way you could say it. But he has taught these guys, our world, we learned about downforce. We didn't think anything about side force. And then when we learned about side force, it was a game changer in NASCAR racing. Well, now they brought that technology to dirt late model racing. And you watch cars. I literally remember, and this might have been 5 years ago even, I remember watching Jonathan Davenport at the World 100, got the lead and was driving off from the field. He caught the back of the pack and couldn't pass the last place car.
Yeah.
It was so air dependent that it was no different than what we complained about as drivers in the Cup Series and what you see in IndyCar and Formula One about being air dependent. So it really shows how the technology has changed in the dirt late model world. Sprint cars are the same way, always have been because of the big wings on top. But wing sprint cars, dirt late models, and even the modifieds now. I mean, I sat there and looked at the car. I was watching the broadcast, watching Kyle Larson win in Justin Allgaier's car at Eldora.
Yeah,
Tuesday
me
night.
too.
And I looked at that thing in victory lane, and I'm like, man, 15 years ago, that would have been the most cheated up race car you've ever seen in your life. But it was brilliant. I'm looking at it, I'm like, that was done really nice. That was done really nice. That was done really nice. And I'm just watching it on the computer. But then you watch the car go around the racetrack and you're like, yeah, that's why it drives nice too, because of how good a job Justin and his crew and his team have done at building a car that is totally legal.
The right side was beautiful.
Oh, I mean,
It's artwork.
we know what we're looking at when you and I look at it, and we're like, that's pretty damn sexy right there. I mean, that's getting it done.
Yeah. So you talk about you and I watching the races. 10 years ago, myself and Bob Sargent were driving up Interstate 55 North, and we're trying to figure out if Flow or Dirt Vision streaming is good for the sport. What's your opinion on all the new streaming sites?
Well, Dirt Vision started it with the sprint cars and then went to the late models and the big blocks. And then here came Flow Sports. Yeah. And they have revolutionized, and it's been a game changer for short track racing. Not only just short track racing, I mean, they're now moving into drag racing. You name it, they're in it. And when somebody first said Flow, I said, okay, well, what is it? And they said, well, you just got to kind of look. I mean, there's everything from marching band competitions.
Yeah.
It started with 3 guys, and 2 of the brothers. One was a wrestler and one was in track and field. So they do high school track and field, high school wrestling, college track and field, college wrestling, and everything in between, jiu-jitsu, you name it, they cover it. If it's sports, they're covering it. And to bring the motorsports aspect, I mean, Mark and his staff have totally changed the game of how fans have the opportunity to watch races. We all, you live in St. Louis, I live in Indiana or Arizona, depending on what half of the country we're on racing that weekend, but we can't drive to all these racetracks, but we have the ability to go to a track and at the same time on our phone be watching another race when there's downtime. So we have the ability to enjoy more and more and more motorsports, and it's all cataloged so you can go back and watch it. For Flow to do what they've done, to give the fans an opportunity for $150 a year to have all of their content. I mean, if you want to watch, if you're like, oh, I bought it for the racing, but yeah, my kid's into, my 5-year-old's into
softball.
Yeah, you can watch it and all of it, and it's crazy. And I think Flow has really been a game changer. I love what they're doing. It's kind of created a storm in our sport, though. The track operators and owners are fearful that because of that, people aren't going to come to the racetrack. Well, if you live in Skagit, Washington, you're not coming Tuesday night to Eldora.
Right.
You still watch it.
Right.
So I don't feel like it hurts the tracks, and I hope it doesn't hurt the tracks as bad as we are talking about. But it's great for the teams. It's great for the drivers. It gets them that exposure. It really helps showcase their talent and stuff. So we as owners and team owners and series owners, we get to watch these young and up and coming guys. And it's hard to sit there and go, well, yeah, I don't know anything about him. Well, yeah, I got to see him Tuesday night, or I can go back and pull up a race and watch him run. That's stuff we didn't have access to years ago. So I'm a big fan of it right now.
Yeah, I think it's good too, because we don't have to rely. Listen, we always say we want everybody at the racetrack, but
yes, and we still do. I mean, that is the most important thing. What people don't realize is it's an ecosystem, and for all this to work, you can't just sit at home and watch it on streaming and this to be sustainable. You still have to go to the racetrack. You got to support your local tracks, because you got companies like Copart that are going in and buying racetracks left and right. And the reason they're doing that is because they can bring all their cars there and they don't have to worry about EPA, because just about every racetrack's got oil and stuff in the dirt, and it's an EPA nightmare. But they can buy the property because it's already that way. So they go in and they're shutting racetracks down to expand their business. They don't care about motorsports. They just care about building their.
I never knew this. This is interesting.
Yeah, this is something Mike Joy pointed out to me. Copart is a big factor in buying up a lot of racetracks that are struggling right now. And, it's for these track operators and owners that are struggling. It's a way out for them, unfortunately, but it's shutting down racetracks across the country because
Legendary Boyd's just shut down.
Yeah, and Copart is buying a lot of these racetracks and turning them into salvage yards.
Wow, I never knew that. What do you see? What do you see out your window right now? We good?
It's pretty slow right now. I guess the grazing period is over, or they've moved away from eating my bushes outside.
They know you're trying to do an interview.
Yeah.
So, as you look back on your career, what was the happiest time? What was it? When was it? Mine was when I ran the Xfinity series, the Busch series. I was winning. It was a simple time for me. When I got the cup, it was rough. What was your happiest time?
I'll say now is pretty close to the happiest time. But I would say originally what I've always told everybody was my happiest times was when I was racing USAC. When I was running a midget and a sprint car and Silver Crown car, and you'd drive with your buddies to the races, and then you might be in a fight with each other at the racetrack, but then you're like, shit, we got to ride home together.
The white 9.
Yeah. The Lewis car. And, but when I was back then, before I won my first championship, I mean, you would sit there and literally in a 4-week period in a month, if you had 3 rough weeks and you didn't make much money, you were getting by and getting race to race, but then rent, utilities, all that stuff that
I'm getting nervous. I'm getting nauseous thinking about those days.
Real world issues. You'd sit there on week 4 and go, man, I can't screw up because I got to pay bills next week, and it kind of changed how you raced on week 4 if you had a rough first 3 weeks. But that was when I had the most fun. I mean, life was simple. I was in my early mid-20s and really enjoying life as a race car driver. And originally when I started as a kid, when I got in my early teens, I thought, man, if I could ever just make a living driving a race car and support myself, if I could make a living driving midgets and sprint cars, that'd be the ultimate for me. And
look at you now.
We got there. We just kept trucking though. So, but yeah, those were the best times when I was, racing in USAC back in the day.
Well, Tony, listen, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for saying yes to do this. This is a big deal. I kind of dreamed it up. I told Charlie, I said, Charlie, one of these days we're going to interview people. And he goes, well, we can do that now. I'm like, really? So
welcome to technology, bud.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And I got to say, we've had a great feed, and it's way easier than me traveling 5 hours to your house. And thank you so much. Do good. Mistakenly, you have reminded me everything you're doing, my Lord. Eldora, sprint cars, drag cars, cup cars. It's unbelievable. Congratulations on all your success. Congratulations on, once again, being one of the greatest race car drivers to ever live with NASCAR 75. But there's so much more to you than that. Well,
I appreciate all that. Thank you so much. And I would, anytime you call, I've done your brother's podcast. And when you sent me the message, I'm like, I didn't know what my schedule was the rest of the week initially, but I'm like, yeah, I'm 100% all in doing this with you. But I'd say one of the proudest moments of my life in my years of NASCAR, and I can't take all the credit. Kenny Schrader gets a lot of the credit as well. Kenny Schrader and I talking you into getting into dirt track racing.
Yeah.
And getting you in dirt cars. And then a whole new Kenny Wallace came out of his shell. And to see that and be a part of that, that's probably one of my greatest accomplishments in motorsports is introducing you to dirt track racing and getting you hooked on it. I know
you saved my life.
I'm proud of that. Seeing you, I was working the track at Tulsa at the Chili Bowl and seeing you in a midget the first time.
You helped me.
There was no happier moment. I was like a proud father watching you every
I was switching the wheel too much. You helped me.
But you were learning. But just the fact that your background was always pavement racing and NASCAR racing, and we got you into something that you've really became passionate and happy with, and to see that in you truly has made me happy as your friend, to see you enjoying dirt track racing and other forms of motorsports like we do.
I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'll never forget that. We won your 2005 Prelude of the Dream.
And I ran my ass off trying to catch you, and you just drove away. And I had Don O'Neill as my crew chief that night. And he was I won't say he was mad at me, but he was frustrated. And I'm like, Don, I tried everything I've ever learned in a race car to catch him. I said, I know this track better than anybody in the field. I said, I did everything in my power, and he just ran a perfect race. He never made a mistake, and you didn't. You ran every lap flawlessly.
So you looked at me in victory lane. You said, "What was that all about?" I think I said to you, "Maybe I should have been a dirt racer."
I thought it was like an out-of-body experience for you.
It was.
It was crazy, but man, like I said though, I mean, I wish the fans and the fans know you now for who you are, and how they know your personality, and you've always had that personality. But to see you smile and how much fun you're having, you have broke out of the shell and the shadow of your brothers. I know you always say you're the third brother, but you're not. You're your own man, and you're your own Wallace. You have built that. So you need to embrace that and start embracing it, because you're not Rusty's brother. You're not Mike's brother. By God, you're Kenny damn Wallace, and you're you, man. I mean, you made a huge impact on so many people.
I needed that. That was great therapy. Tony, listen, thank you so much.